It's hard to do, but it was that we tried.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Tompkins County Legislature. The date is Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. The time is 5:32. If you could please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we could have a roll call of members. I do see a special guest here that's joining us via Zoom. Mike Sigler.
Hazel.
No, it's just Hazel.
Yes. Here. We are here.
Okay.
Adam Vinson.
Here.
Dan Wakeman.
Here.
Irene Weiser is asked to be excused this evening. Christy Bianconi. Travis Brooks.
Present.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Deborah Dawson.
Here.
Judith Hubbard.
Here.
John Hunt.
Here.
Greg Mezzi.
Here.
Rachel Oslin.
Here.
Iris Packman.
Here.
Veronica Pillar.
Here.
Lee Shirtliff.
Here.
Shauna Black.
Here. Okay. And,
So cute.
sorry about that. Let's go ahead and start off with, this evening we will not have an executive session. And, did someone just say boo? Okay, yay, okay, good. I was like, okay, you're gonna get kicked out of here pretty quickly. But, okay. So next we're gonna move to privilege of the floor for our public, and we do have a few rules that I'll just read really quickly. I agree to a 3-minute time limit. I agree not to raise my voice. I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. Number 4, I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. Number 5, after 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. Number 6, I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. Number 7, I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. The first person we have tonight is Josh Dolan.
So Jared's joining me up here because we're reading a statement and it's going to run over 3 minutes. So I'm just going to read my part and then Jared's going to jump up and finish. So this is a statement from Flock Off Ithaca. We want to thank you for making the right decision to end the flock contract. We understand that this is just one issue amongst many that you are juggling as a deliberative body, and it may feel like this one issue has been getting a disproportionate amount of attention and requiring more work than you expected. We get it. Public safety is built on trust, and trust is built on transparency. Only through robust public discourse and oversight can we achieve true democracy. And so we'd like to address some aspects of the flock vote last week. We were startled to find out that the flock vote happened a full week before the legislators had announced that it would. We found out after the fact that the agenda for what we expected to just be an executive session was quietly changed to include a vote on flock. Maybe this is just an example of poor communication, but the optics of it lean toward a lack of transparency. This is what got the previous legislature embroiled in this controversy to begin with. Had a dynamic process, public process, been implemented at the very outset, we never would have had a contract with Flock at all. Please, as you move forward, consider that we, the public, are also putting in a tremendous amount of work and energy into the process. And so we want to be included throughout the process for the good, the bad, and the ugly. The decision to give more surveillance in the current GIVE grant, again, without public input, feels like maybe you haven't actually been listening to all those hours of public comment. Again, lack of transparency equals lack of trust, equals lack of accountability, equals more controversy.
So again, we're going to refer you to the ACLU's CCOPS legislation. Please have the county attorney begin drafting concrete legislation that gives the public real oversight into how surveillance is used in our community. Please take a look at how the current Public Safety Committee is constituted and whether that actually represents democracy in action and community trust, or just another backroom where decisions are made without any real meaningful public impact. Please think about conducting polls in the future so that the public can actually see where community sentiment lands on important community issues that affect all of us. Again, thank you for the time that you have gone through in this process, and I hope the feedback that you've gotten from us throughout this process has changed the way that you all see surveillance and how you might enhance the democratic process going forward.
Thank you both. Next, we have Amanda Kirch-Gessner.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Kirch-Gessner, lifelong resident of Tompkins County. And I see this evening it looks like almost $1.5 million in ARPA funds are going to be rolled back into the county budget. Can somebody say that's a possibility? The money's coming back into the budget, yes? Okay. I would largely suggest you look at creating another request for grant proposals, and I'd strongly encourage you to consider asking No Mas Lagrimas to submit a grant asking for funds to support local farmers in providing fresh and local produce to their food pantry. If we actually want to crisis stabilize, access to local healthy foods is one of the best ways to do it. I would encourage other pantries to do the same, but local money spent on local farmers to feed local people is one of the best things we can do to help build resiliency locally. Yeah, it's a thick packet. I strongly suggest breaking down the consent agenda and going over those items a little more in depth tonight because you have the time. There's no executive session, especially the authorization of the application to the Homeless and Housing Assistance Program grant for development of the 80-bed shelter. I don't know if this is necessarily the best use of funds. There are absolutely properties that could be developed instead of building a new one. It seems like a lot of resource to put into an emergency shelter when there are presumably better options available, such as vacant hotels that exist around the county. Also, the Trump administration did announce earlier this week, within the past 7 days, that there's going to be $50 million in federal funding for ibogaine research. Our community would be the best place for an ibogaine treatment center. I don't know if any of you have looked at ibogaine and its applications in helping to help people with PTSD and severe drug dependencies, but it is helping individuals get clean quickly. And because we have such a robust social services network and system locally, plus we are removed from a lot of the larger urban centers where people tend to fall back into old patterns, and our economy is already structured around services, especially at this level, it might be a perfect opportunity for us to create a resilient business model in service to helping people recover from addiction and post-traumatic stress disorders. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Is there anyone here, anyone else here for public comment? Katie, you're good? Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to municipal officials. We have Margaret Fabrizio from the City of Ithaca.
Hi, everybody. Happy spring. It is really spring. Don't worry, it's coming. So I actually was traveling, getting a little bit of early spring. So I'm just going to keep this brief because I should probably get an update from you. I'm not totally plugged back in yet, but I just want to start by saying that I'm feeling like probably more hopeful and excited about things in the city than ever, actually. We've made 2 key hires in the last couple of weeks, which is really huge progress. Carissa Robowski brings a decade of experience in public finance to Ithaca. She's currently working as the Chief Operating Officer for the Maryland Office of People's Counsel, and she previously worked for the Maryland Department of Budget and Management. So this is super exciting, especially since we've been without a permanent controller since the retirement of Steve Thayer in 2023. Carissa will be starting part-time remotely and then relocating here with her family in the early summer. We've also hired a veteran HR professional, Kahar Khan, and he most recently led human resources for NeighborWorks Community Partners in Rochester, and then previously served as a deputy human resources director for a university in Pakistan. So he is bringing lots of experience and also local knowledge of this part of New York State. He's going to be starting May 4th. On financials, this is another, I think, really hopeful area for me. We're still working really hard to catch up and retrain staff on new procedures and software. The Bonadio group is still helping us with that. They're fully engaged in training, and the good news is that we're now receiving detailed monthly financial reports and getting a much clearer picture of things and our debt load, and all of this just in time for budget season, which is starting probably earlier than ever for us this year, starting in May. And I'm still very hopeful that we'll be able to have some kind of communication around budget stuff, collaborative communication with the county. We're seeing progress in how we're tracking, short-term bonds and capital projects, and I want to say under Dominic's guidance, we're also taking a really close look at so many other things, including utility costs and other potential savings. He's doing so much, and I'm sorry that you lost him, and I am so very glad that we poached him. He is amazing. Our staff is continuing to work, as I said, with Bonadio, and tomorrow's the last day for RFP submissions for firms to complete the city's overdue audits, and then we expect to award that contract around May 6th. So that is also huge progress. And then on tomorrow's council agenda, there's, you probably know this, a proposed agreement among Tompkins County and municipal partners to establish a countywide drug task force that would include the DA's office, Sheriff's Office, New York State Police, and several municipalities. And a resolution to also renew the joint Ithaca-Tompkins SRT mutual aid agreement. And I don't know a lot about this, but what I do know is that this would allow officers to operate across jurisdictions when requested, so outside of their own jurisdiction, and it would support a specialized response team for situations that require, something more than standard policing. So I want to say yay for collaboration. We need more of it. I have a stary on here, but I think I also just got news that your chair and some of the other reps here have met with the mayor very recently. I think it was even today. So you probably know a lot more than I do about Asteri. I will just say that it seems pretty clear that there's still many permanent repairs that need to be made, including things like full window replacement and addressing lots of remaining fire code issues and other unit-specific work. The Fire Prevention Bureau will continue regular inspections until everything in that area is resolved, and then follow that by standard periodic inspections. And my understanding is that the county health department will also be doing regular inspections, but I would welcome, yes, I see Shauna shaking her head, so great. Other areas, community response, the city staff did a kickoff in March to begin developing the Community Responder Division program. Unarmed Responders, ROOTS is still the acronym that it's going by. So there's smaller working groups now that are looking at job descriptions and policies and training plans and stuff like that. So they're going to be reconvening later this month or next. And then the city manager is also working with the Downtown Ithaca Alliance to relaunch the Downtown Community Outreach Worker Program this spring, which is also a collaboration right, with the county. So, and something that, you know, the community desperately needs, and I certainly know the business community is so grateful for it as well. So thank you for continuing to support that. We're also organizing a special committee on unhoused services planning, and there isn't any meeting schedule yet, but it is coming, and community partners will be invited, and this is definitely an area where county participation will be really valuable. So stay tuned for that. And then I just wanted to let you know, we have a new city website. And I haven't fully explored it yet myself, but what I've seen so far looks great. And the whole idea is to really increase communications with the public and make it easier for the public to communicate with the city. We're seeing also like way more press releases and a monthly recap of common council activity. So technically, you probably won't even need Kayla and me, but we will still come because we love seeing you. There's going to be a new email newsletter platform called Civic Send, and residents will be able to subscribe to specific topics on that. So, you know, the goal is really to make it easier for people to engage and to be able to give feedback and to get really easy access to summaries of meetings, agendas, reports, public hearings, everything about that. And then lastly, I'll just say with regard to downtown, since I am a voting member now on the Downtown Ithaca Alliance, and it's just an area that I'm also just really, really interested in helping to support in every way possible. There are 11 new businesses that have opened this year so far, and 11 that will be open by, I think, in another month or so. And the DIA is working really hard to support them. I'm pushing for a big downtown open house day. I don't know if that will happen, but I think that would be super fun and have music and get a lot of people down there to see the new shops and what's happening. So in the meantime, I would say come downtown and help support them. And as always, please reach out to me. Let's get together for lunch. I would love to help build a stronger relationship between the city and the county. I will take any questions if anybody has anything. Yeah, Travis.
I just was wondering, we're going into our 5th, 6th month with an interim city manager. We don't have an assistant city manager at this time, so Dominic is carrying the load all on his own, and we're getting ready to go into the busiest time of the city with budget season. What is the hiring plan for the city manager and an assistant city manager?
Well, first I'd say Dominic is really doing just, again, an amazing, amazing job. We are not talking yet about what's coming. I mean, what will happen is we're getting a controller. So that's going to be hugely helpful for budget season coming up. So I think we take it a little bit slowly right now and continue to see where we go with things as they are. I don't know specifically. We haven't talked specifically about where we're heading, in 6 months or 1 year. But I would say right now, it feels like things are working well, and we're getting a big boost with 2 key, hires with a director of HR and the controller. So we'll reassess as we get those people in place and see where we need to go.
Any other questions for Margaret? Okay, Randy Brown and then Deborah Dawson.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot to update. Sometimes that microphone doesn't work so great, so maybe, and I'm not blaming you, but maybe if you do a report like that, if you want to give it to us in writing.
I can send it to you, yes, absolutely.
That'd be great. But one of the questions, maybe you mentioned this, is parking in this area, and I think the Seneca parking ramp was closed, and if it's still closed or not.
Yeah.
But if it is, what is the plan for that?
There isn't a definite plan right now, but I think people have long, thought about what else it could be besides parking, being in the very center of the city. So I think that's yet to be determined. We have 2 other parking garages, and I don't believe that the Cuga Street garage, and I don't even think that the Green Street garage has been, at maximum capacity. So there is, I don't have the exact number, so I shouldn't speak too wildly about this, but I do feel like, we're still able to accommodate what we need. But I would say, there isn't any assumption that, yes, it's going to continue to only be a garage for the foreseeable future.
Do you anticipate it reopening at some point?
I have not heard reopening dates. I think we're waiting for a bigger engineering report to understand more of what the issues are and if there are smaller issues that can be fixed to keep it operational for, some period of time. I mean, it clearly needs some major work. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next I have Deborah and then Greg.
Yeah, thank you, Margaret. I was wondering, can anyone sign up for that City Serve?
Yes, I think anyone can. I don't know that it's quite...
You don't have to be a city resident?
I'll ask about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think you shouldn't have to be a city resident, for sure.
Next is Greg.
Sorry, thanks for being here. Love your reports. You're doing a great job, and I really appreciate the passion in which you bring to the work in which you do. So I say that first, and that's usually followed up by some snarky comment.
Okay, let me have it.
So I would hope that the DIA and Common Council are talking with local businesses and local employees about the impact of the garage. Yes, there are 2 other garages, and there's surface parking in the city, but I know from a few business owners on Aurora Street that it's incredibly impactful for their business and some of the surrounding sort of adjacent streets because of where the garages are. They sort of serve different, for lack of a better term, like little nodes or pockets of downtown. So I know that that's a real impact, and I guess I'm always of the approach that I hope that government is of the do as we say and they do what they also ask others to do. Because if that was a private garage, would it have gotten to that point, or would we have expected more from our private sector partners than we are from our municipal partners? So I hope that the city will hold itself to the same standard as if that were a private garage, and understand the impact that the closure has on downtown businesses and the economy, especially people who work down here, who that may be, a place to or they have late at night or whatever the case may be. So I say that because I think it's very serious and it's something that shouldn't be overlooked. My second, that's more of a comment, which you're welcome to respond to. My second question is, how is Saturday parking enforcement going? Are you tracking revenue, and has your staffing adjusted to now have enforcement on Saturdays? Because I know when it was originally rolled out, there was really no Saturday enforcement scheduled. So I was just curious, the return on investment for Saturday parking, if you're actually seeing the dollars flowing back in, or is it costing us more to enforce on Saturday than it's actually worth, and sort of where Saturday parking has come out, now that we're a few months in.
Yeah, thanks. I will have to follow up on that and send you a note because I do not have the numbers on that, so I can't really say if we're making out or if we're basically going even or losing money just trying to do it. Yeah. And with regard to the garages, yes, I was at a DA meeting just last week, and it's pretty clear that the hotels, are really impacted. I mean, there's a big impact for sure. So yes, while there is some capacity, that it is a little bit further away. We'll have to. I don't know. I agree with you about deferred maintenance. I mean, that's not something that should have happened over so many years. And parking garages are really, crazy expensive to maintain, to build. I know that the Green Street garage, there's some extremely complicated deal arrangement with how that was built and how it's still managed or run or whatever. And I think, we get to buy it back for $1 after 30 years. Why would we do that? Is what I'm asking, right? Yeah. When 30 years, when it needs to be probably taken down and, rebuilt. So I don't have an answer to that, but I will look. I'll ask about the Saturday parking, get back to you.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next, we have Iris, then Veronica, and Judith.
Oh, wow. You've really given me a workout. Okay.
It's just
great to have all the updates. I was just curious if you could explain a little bit of the charge of the drug task force.
I don't know. I haven't been involved in that, but I will make a note to check on that, and I can get back to you.
Thank you.
Does anybody, maybe somebody here knows, since it's a collaborative project?
Yeah.
But the what?
The task force that Margaret spoke about, that, and I think the sheriff, you said, is part of it. So there are county.
I'd be happy to circulate a copy of the MOU. It's all the kinds of things that you'd expect to see from multidisciplinary, multi-agency law enforcement approaches to drug issues.
Thanks.
Next is Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret. On the parking front, I'm on the DIA's Downtown Transportation Committee, and so you might know this, but one of that committee's priorities was for this year is to advocate for the city to finish a comprehensive parking study. I know there's some history with one being started that I would know if I hadn't missed the last meeting, I'm sure, but so I guess I'm speaking up for the need for a parking study now, and I think just the more so in the wake of changing parking enforcement and the Seneca Street garage developments. But then my second thing, what I actually raised my hand for, is the city website is so great, it's so much better. So everyone check it out. And I've already signed up for most of the email newsletters, which it's very easy to find on the website how to do that, I think. So
Yeah, it's great. It's a huge step forward. Long overdue, but, so welcome.
Judith?
Hi, Margaret.
Hey, Judith.
I have two comments. I'm just going to pile on the parking garage line for just a minute. I think nobody really wants to see Ithaca become a city of cars, right? But multi-level parking garages are actually a way to make parking available without it taking up a huge amount of space. And I think that's an important component to how we make Ithaca sort of a walkable, attractive neighborhood, is to have a place where people can store their cars not on the street. And maybe there are enough space in the other garages, but I'm a little skeptical. The second point is, you know how we hear about potholes all the time? I've had such a great experience with the new system you have. And Iris, I'm sorry, I can't see through you.
Yeah, there. Thanks.
Which is, you have this see-click fix option. You can take a picture of a pothole and send it to the city, and then they fill the pothole. Like they filled the pothole right outside my house 2 weeks after I sent in my request. It was amazing. The one comment I will make is, before they fill the pothole, they send you an email, and the email says, "We have completed your request and are now closing it," which happens after you send the email and before the pothole gets filled, which is very confusing and doesn't feel good when you get the email and you look at the pothole in the ground and you're told that your request has been closed. So maybe changing that default language would be helpful.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Margaret? Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us tonight, Margaret.
Love being here. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Okay, next we are going to move to legislator privilege of the floor. Greg Mezzi.
Yeah, thanks, Shauna. On our agenda, we do have a fair housing resolution for 2026, and I thought maybe rather than pulling it from the consent agenda, just take a moment to raise up the topic of fair housing during privilege of the floor. These are not my words, they're taken from the memo that's provided in the packet, but I thought that this snippet really summarized fair housing nicely, and I know that we recognized the Ithaca Board of Realtors for Fair Housing Month as well at our last meeting. But April is Fair Housing Month, and a reminder to the community that there are state and federal laws that prohibit discrimination in the provision of housing. The Federal Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, and Disability and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. New York State human rights law expands on the Federal Fair Housing Act by additionally prohibiting discrimination based on gender identity or expression, source of income, domestic violence, victim status, marital status, military status, and sexual orientation. I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind everybody, because we all have a need and are looking for housing, that this is a community that's welcoming to all, and housing should be accessible to everyone, and that to those that are on the renting side or selling side, to remember that we need to be accepting and open of all individuals that are, seeking to either purchase or rent from us as well. So just wanted to take a moment to lift up Fair Housing Month, rather than pull that item off the consent agenda. Just remind folks that Ithaca is Tompkins County, the greater Ithaca community is definitely a place for everybody.
Thank you, Greg. Next is Judith.
You may not know this, but this coming Saturday, there's a very exciting event. It is the Cornell Cooperative Extension's 4-H duck race. If you've never been to the duck race, they dump thousands of little rubber ducks onto Cascadilla Falls, and they race down the river all the way towards the Science Center. The ducks, you buy them for $5, or a flock of 5 for $20. The first past the finish line win prizes, so please go buy your ducks, raise money for the CCE. It all goes to 4-H youth programs. Very fun. My kids went last year. They said, I wish there were a duck race every weekend.
It's very fun. Anyone else for privilege of the floor? I have Iris and then Legislature.
Thanks. Today we had 2 of the minimum wage convenings, so I was able to attend both of them. I was the only legislator at the first, and Veronica came for the second. That's, be great to have more of us turn out, because these are done to educate us about this policy ideas. It was really informative. There was a great community turnout from leaders of nonprofits as well as agencies. And on next Tuesday night at 6 p.m. I think the location is just being confirmed. We'll get an email. There will be the final community convening, and that is around youth employment. Chris Spahn is going to be sort of facilitating that. He's fantastic. So if you are able to attend, I highly encourage it. It'll be 6 o'clock next Tuesday. And they will be talking about the impacts of if we were to raise a minimum wage, what would that look like for youth employment? So it was very informative. I took tons of notes. I will probably share that mostly at HED at our next meeting, but feel free to come by if you have questions.
Thank you. I would just remind all of us that many people here have day jobs and or childcare issues and or other meetings. And while I'm sure that we all value the living wage study, we will do what we can to make meetings.
Minimum wage study.
Oh, living wage, minimum wage study. Sorry. Just keep doing that. So anyway, I want to make sure that we don't have legislator guilt, because I'm sure we all have that for not making certain meetings. Let's see here. Next is Lee Shurtleff.
Thank you, Shauna. At the last meeting, Shauna called attention to a tragedy that had occurred recently in the town of Dryden, and spoke very eloquently at the time. And since then, since that meeting, similar tragedy occurred in my district in the Groton community in the early morning hours of April 10th. And Shauna reached out to me very quickly to extend concern and condolences of this body and county government, and encouraged me to speak briefly to it tonight. We had a fire in a structure in a family of 5 that were involved, and 4 of the 5 rapidly escaped, and elderly, infirmed father was inside. The son returned back to try to rescue him, and unfortunately, sadly, the 2 perished. And lifelong community members Bob and Jason Morusty, people I've known personally all my life. And the three remaining, the wife of Jason and 2 children, are safe and recovering. And I just want to bring that attention to you tonight. The family, the neighbors, the community, the school district where one of the children attends are all in a state of mourning and healing today, and we think very much of them. I also want to make mention of the impact with the responders and a large number of firefighters and emergency medical personnel and law enforcement, and it extends out to quite a few. When we talk about the response community, it's a lot of disciplines that are involved. And many of those responders that were there that night had also been involved in the response in Dryden just a few days before that. Department of Emergency Response, Michael, I want to thank you for the efforts of your dispatchers as well as the crisis incident team and others who have reached out to our department and the other departments that were involved. The assistance that our county Department of Emergency Response provides at these times is outstanding, and we appreciate that. And please extend that back to the staff, and we do appreciate your continued outreach to our people. But if I could, I just would ask for a moment of silent reflection and, if you will, appreciation for all that shapes the lives of those involved, not only of the family, but of those that were there to try to assist going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Deborah Dawson.
Thank you. I'm going to take a page out of my colleague Greg Mezzie's book. Rather than pulling a resolution off the consent agenda, I wanted to address some remarks that were made in public comment. The reason that we have to reallocate these ARPA funds is because the purposes that they were initially allocated to were not able to be fulfilled. It is too late under the terms of ARPA for us to reallocate them to anything that's not already allocated. And we cannot, for that reason, reopen the process of assigning them. So I just wanted to assure everyone that we're not making some unconscionable money grab here. And that it is our hope that the main project to which these monies had been allocated will eventually take place, and we will use county funds for those purposes. Thank you.
Veronica, and then Greg.
Deborah, thank you, because I was going to pull that resolution to say that, so now I don't have to. I guess on that note, if I could comment on the resolution that I won't pull from the consent agenda, authorizing application to the HHAP grant, Homeless Housing and Assistance Program for development of the shelter. That's prior to purchasing that land and announcing that project, I think we did, I guess it was the previous legislature, and staff considered a variety of options, not just building new, but I think our staff spent quite a lot of time looking at things like vacant hotels and other stuff that were available at that time. And we determined, and I still believe, that the new building on this site was the best option and most economical option in terms of the effective service provided to people seeking shelter for the dollars spent. What is the rest? And also, while there is local dollar investment into building the new building, a nice thing about applying for the HHAP funds is, should we get the grant, it's mostly state dollars, not local, which we love to spend, preferably.
Other people's money.
Yeah, it's all tax money, but But as frequently mentioned, the state has many more ways to raise taxes that are maybe more equitable than the levers we have. What I first raised my hand for was, though, just to tag on to what Greg said about the fair housing resolution, is to note, you might have said this, that the resolution calls for the county to continue doing a series of concrete actions to promote fair housing, including the creation, maintenance, and distribution of brochures with fair housing information and what to do to avoid discriminating against anyone, or if you think you've been discriminated against. And if you just look up, like, Google Tompkins County Fair Housing or search on the county website, there's a page all about that with digital links to the brochures and information. So check that out.
Okay, next is Greg.
Sorry to take a double turn. I just remembered. I wanted to share with all of my colleagues, and since Mike Seitley's here, I had the opportunity about a week ago to run into a very enthusiastic employee of our Rapid Medical Response Program, who was so excited to talk about the work that they do and share how the work is deeply meaningful for them. And, they are paramedic trained and they're working at an EMT level. Did I get that right? Because they're so positive, and they believe in the work and the speed in which we're able to respond to situations and better serve our community. They were delighted to be employed by the county, and they had great things to say about the leadership in that area and that department. So it was just kind of nice to be stopped for a minute and hear a good thing. We did this sort of walk by each other and look like, wait, I think you might work for the county. I think you work for the county sort of moment. And luckily, they took the opportunity to stop me and chat. But I just wanted to share that with everybody. This work is meaningful. It's great to hear. I know our residents appreciate our response and the work that we're doing around this, but to hear from the folks actually doing the work, how much it actually means to them to be able to provide this service for our community, because I don't think anybody hops in an ambulance just because, right? I think they do it because they care and they want to make an investment in the well-being of our community. So wanted to share that with everybody. Thank that person, if you're watching, for stopping me, and also share the mic with you that the team was very complimentary of everybody involved. So kudos, and hopefully we can continue to do some great work around our Rapid Medical Response Program.
Thank you, Greg. Iris?
Just a point of information. I believe resolution number I is improperly listed under the HED committee. I think it was under HHS or BCP. Sitting on HED, I didn't see it there. It's the Homeless Housing Assistance Program.
Yeah. Sitting on HHS and BCP, I saw it at both.
Okay,
So,
we did not have it at HED, so. And I just confirmed, looking back at the agenda, we did not.
Okay, it's still under consent, though, so we'll do the same process.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and move to the chair's report. Today, a group of county legislators, Adam Benson, Travis Brooks, and myself, and Corsa Kumpi, met with some city reps. We met with Mayor Rob Cantalmo and Kayla Matos, as well as Dominic, and had some really good discussions. We talked about some of the illegal cannabis stores, and there have been some raids, if you will, of some of those stores. My understanding is that a few of them have been shut down, and they will continue to turn illegal cannabis stores in the city of Ithaca into the authorities, so that they can continue to shut those down. We also talked about sheltering and what that's going to look like in Tompkins County. Our Code Blue shelter will be closing as of April 30th. And we talked a little bit about Asteri and some of the ongoing concerns that we continue to have. Of course, there are some violations on the city's end. There are some violations on our health department's end. And Asteri has till May 1st to fix some of the violations that they have on the county end. Mayor Cantelmo did do a walkthrough of Asteri today, and there continue to be some concerns. We also talked about a little bit about the parking garage. Legislators, I did send you an email as far as an update on that. There is also, we had a very quick conversation about the ambulance system and what it looks like for the Ithaca Fire Department to respond. We talked about the cost of how much funding it takes to run both a fire department as well as a police department. We talked about setting up fire districts that would tax individuals who receive fire services. And then, of course, we talked about the upcoming budgets, what those could look like. And it was a really great meeting. I mean, I feel for the first time that the county and the city are really communicating well. I have a very good relationship with the mayor, and at any point we text back and forth, we ask questions. If there's anything going on in the community, we've definitely opened up that line of communication, and I felt like the meeting today was very productive. So I wanted to update all of my colleagues here and our community. And then the other thing that I really wanted to send all of you home this evening with an update from NISAC. They had a really great presentation. Steve Aquario was on one of the Albany public TV shows and was interviewed about this year's budget. And of course, has not met its deadline. And they're still trying to negotiate. And the one thing that's a little strange about this year is that everything is very hush-hush. There have been no leaks as far as, what's going on with the budget. And so we really don't know what to expect. We know that we're going to be hit by some of the impacts from the federal SNAP dilemma. We know that people are going to start having issues with their cards not going through and not meeting some of the working qualifications. One of the rumors on the state level also is that they are debating the Tier 6 pensions. And if they do allow or add another tier or combine tiers or do whatever they're talking about, that could really have a massive impact on the state budget. And so I am going to have Katrina, I couldn't show the video tonight because of copyright infringement since we televise, but I am going to send that video to all of you this evening. I would encourage all of you to watch the video. It's like 5 or 6 minutes because it does give some really good insight into the state budget. And that's all for my chair's report tonight. Next, we are going to, let's see here, we're going to hear a report from our county administrator, Corsa Kumfi.
Thank you. Trying to be steady. Okay, thank you. I have a very quick report on, I believe, three items. With the shelter, the project planning is moving forward. For the HHAP, we are very close to getting the application ready, and as soon as the RFP is released after the state budget is passed, our hope is to be able to be one of the first agencies to be in the door, so we're excited about that. As Shauna indicated, the congregate site at the Code Blue on Cherry Street will be closing on April 30th. DSS will still have the responsibility to provide services in an event the weather falls below 32 degrees or 32 degrees with wind chill. So we'll still continue to provide those services as well. Let me see. So based on the numbers, the current THA and Cold Blue Shelter, we have about 139 plus individuals that we are providing services for. I also want to say great thank you to VOA. Based on report they provided to us, they have been able to connect about 10 clients to jobs and also been able to connect our 23 of their clients to permanent housing. And this is a great achievement over a short period of time. So I'm really excited about what we can do with them or working with them for the foreseeable future as well. Budget. We are working on our budget, trying to put the pieces together. The county admin, together with the Department of Planning and Sustainability, is putting together a 20-year capital program. Currently, we are meeting with department to ascertain their specific department need and how we can capture that into the 20-year plan. Our goal is to make that a living document so that every year we add a year to it instead of allowing the 20-year plan to lapse. So that's the goal, and I'm hopeful that we should be able to get this plan in time for the budget adoption cycle this year as well. For the operating budget for 2027, we are putting the resources together, and we are still planning towards the retreat on May 12th. So it's looking similar to last year, nothing strange yet, but we will provide you details as we get the numbers in and add our estimates and our projections in the system. One other item I just want to update you is public information ADA compliance. We were made aware of the need to make sure that every single record on the county's website or social media posts are all ADA compliant. The deadline that we have was April 24th. So we're scrambling to do what we can do. But we just received notification on Friday that DOJ has extended the deadline to April 26, 2027. So we are very excited about that, but that does not stop what we are trying to do. We'll continue to stay on course, but it gives us an opportunity to not necessarily slowing down, but being methodological with our choices and options as we move forward with the process. So Monica is leading that, and we'll continue to work with all the department. We have trainings coming up, and if anyone, there was a training provided today by NACO, which was very informative. I will share the presentation with all of you for additional information about what exactly those rules cover and the expectations on the counties as well. So for municipal agencies below below 50,000, they have up to 2028 to be compliant, and above 50,000, we have up to 2027, April 26 to be compliant. So we fall within that number. So we have time, and yeah, we're getting it done. So we're excited. That's my report. Unless anyone has a question about something I didn't raise, I'd be happy to respond.
Any questions or comments for Corsa? Okay.
Good day.
Thank you, Corsa. Did you say it's a good day because we didn't ask you questions?
Precisely.
Okay. Did I see a hand go up? No. Let's see here. Next, County Attorney Maury Josephson.
Happily, Corsa forgot to say that he loves his job, so I will say that I love mine. Give you we've been together 3 weeks in a row, but give a sense of what we've been doing since we were last together. We've, with different departments, with human resources, we managed to successfully close 4 employment disputes or employment matters, but we opened up 5 new ones. Can't go into much detail about those here, other than that it's a pleasure to work with Ruby on those, even when the facts are terrible. One of our existing employment cases has now morphed into litigation with an EEOC charge, so I will be updating you separately on that in a privileged document. In the health area and with whole health, our principal focus of late has been with Asteri Health Enforcement and prosecuting those violations, which we did successfully, and we will continue supporting Whole Health as they move into further enforcement of that particular penalty and stepped up inspections and enforcement at the Asteri. We are also going to have some a TUPA enforcement activity with Whole Health, and Holly, Jenny, and I will be meeting hopefully next week to talk about integrating a TUPA enforcement with illicit cannabis sale enforcement. We've also been working with Whole Health on the appointment process for the Board of Health, and overall have an ongoing project with the legislature clerks to update all of our appointment processes and advisory board bylaws. The Ethics Advisory Board has been busy of late, and we have been supporting their efforts. My busiest client, the Department of Administration, and including the Department of Emergency Response. We've been working on a series of leases, including for sheltering operations that'll be discussed some more tonight, space for workforce development, and a bunch of tower leases for DUR, both ones where the county owns the tower and leases space to other cellular providers, and ones where we lease the space and need to negotiate new or replacement leases. We've been working on lots of policies. One at top of list is parenting leave. We've also had a fair number of discussions of late with IT about AI policies and to what extent those tools can be integrated into the workflow, and what safeguards we need legally and operationally to make use of those tools. With sustainability, we've managed to wrap up the ground lease amendment with Cornell. That'll be before you tonight, and have done some work on the grant application and contract for the geothermal project that's associated with the Center of Government project. Legislative clerks, in addition to our overall project of updating bylaws and such, we're working on a series of OML issues. Katrina and I will have an opinion on some of those coming shortly that will probably make about half of you happy and half of you not so happy. So we will get that out to you. And then there's litigation. And I had mentioned in my last full report that we had drawn a litigation that's sort of in the mold of the Pung versus Isabella County situation that's before the Supreme Court. So I wanted to give you a sense of what Pung is about and how the pundits think that the case is going to come out. And then in a couple of months, hopefully, I can give you a report that hopefully is aligned with this punditry. And that history, just to go through it quickly, is there was a case decided in 2023, 2024 timeframe by the U.S. Supreme Court called Tyler versus Hennepin County. Prior to Tyler versus Hennepin County, 13 states and or municipalities in their property tax foreclosure processes had retained all proceeds of the auction sale or the tax lien sales, including any surplus funds. In Tyler versus Hennepin County, the Supreme Court addressed a Fifth Amendment challenge to that process, which Hennepin County in Minnesota had followed as well. And if we remember from civics, the Fifth Amendment, among other things, prohibits taking of property for a public purpose without just compensation. And what the Supreme Court decided in Tyler versus Hennepin County is that keeping the surplus is a taking without just compensation, that the only thing a county or municipality engaged in a tax sale can keep is an amount up to the outstanding tax liability along with interest penalties and other related charges, and that the remainder, if you took the equity, the remaining equity after that, that was a taking without just compensation. Now the Pung litigation seeks to take Tyler versus Hennepin County a step further. The Sixth Circuit, what happened in Pung is you keep track of three numbers. There's the tax liability, there's the auction price, and there's the fair market value of the property. In the Sixth Circuit appellate court's decision in Pung, they followed Tyler and said that the market value, which was alleged to be above the auction price, based on an argument that the auction price was artificially suppressed, they argued that any taking up to the fair market value is unjust, and that's what the individual who's been subject to a tax foreclosure is entitled to. That is what the Supreme Court is considering now. Now, coming out of some level of University of Chicago education, I had always thought that an auction carried out with full information and with adequate notice and the broadest possible participation is the way to set the fair market value of an asset, that it's the best way. What the plaintiffs in Pung are arguing is that there needs to be something more than that there needs to be an appraisal process, which if every property that, and this is what NYSEC has argued to the Supreme Court in what's called an amicus brief, if every property has to be appraised or put on the market through a broker in order to establish the fair market value, a tax foreclosure process can't function. It would just become too cumbersome and would lead to endless valuation litigation. The Supreme Court, according to the pundits, were receptive to that argument. They seem to be disinclined to throw out effectively the process of property tax foreclosure, but rather are focused on the process to assure that the process does the best it can to yield an outcome that basically sells the property for the fair market value, to get the auction value to equal the fair market value without having to go through a complicated appraisal process. So we'll know in a few weeks where they come out on that, whether it's going to be an appraisal litigation situation, which basically puts us in a position. When we start out the foreclosure process, there's 100 or so properties in there. It usually gets whittled down to 10 or so. But if we had to do an individual litigation with each of those over the valuation, we'd need, the county attorney's office 5 times the size of my office just to handle that litigation if the value of every property is going to be litigated. So hopefully what we will see is a decision that focuses on assuring that the process is fair, but does not oppose an appraisal element on top of the process. And as far as New York's processes go and our process locally in Tompkins County, it's hard to imagine a fairer auction process given the number of notices that have to be given, the filings required to assure that notice was given to the owners of record of the property, all of the advertising that needs to happen. And now that we've gone to an online auction format, not only does the public have full information to bid on the properties, but the auction is open to the entire world because anyone, anywhere can bid. I mean, I may be stating that overly broadly. It may be only U.S.-wide that can be bidders. I'm not sure. But it's a very fair process that opens up the auction very broadly. So we're hopeful for a favorable outcome on that. And, you know, assuming that's the case, our little individual Pung case will, you know, hopefully be a simple matter to litigate. But we shall see. And of course, there are other class actions that I've referred to that are kicking around where plaintiffs' counsel have, you know, sought to retroactively apply Tyler versus Hennepin County. And I assume if Pung wins, there'll be a whole boatload of them that'll jump on to bring Pung-type claims. But I'm optimistic that that will not come to fruition. And other than that, I am available for your questions now or at any time you like. I will say, in going over things my office has been doing, I didn't include some of your individual initiatives or you know, group initiatives, but they are definitely on our radar, and we are working away on them. I have even Judith's question about fish and wildlife is on our radar, and we will get to it. But we had a productive meeting about sales tax. That was a multi-departmental meeting to address the sales tax agreement. And Christie has some interesting stuff in the pot. So those will be part of further reports and or resolutions that are introduced in the future or local law developments.
Deborah Dawson.
Thank you. Thanks for that report on Pung. My understanding was that there was a second argument in Pung, an Eighth Amendment argument that the amount of the tax deficiency was so small compared to the value of the property that it was an extreme penalty. Do your pundits have any sense of how that one's?
I'll tell you what the Sixth Circuit said about that leading up to the Supreme Court, which was that since the Fifth Amendment provides full relief meaning that the claimant gets the surplus money up to the auction price, that because that remedy exists, there's no need to get into the Eighth Amendment question because there's full relief under the Fifth Amendment. I think this, you know, if the pundits are right, the Supreme Court will do the same thing.
Except that the pundits seem to be suggesting that the Fifth Amendment argument won't be successful. So does that leave us exposed on the Eighth Amendment?
I think they are largely duplicative of one another. So I think as the Fifth Amendment goes, the Eighth Amendment would go with it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Maury? Maury, I just have one question in regards to the hotel tax. I know that we've talked in the past about some of our hotels that collect hotel tax and are not paying it to the county. At some point, would we be able to have a report of who is still not paying their hotel tax and what's being done for that?
Yes, I would be happy to provide that. And
okay.
We also, keep mentioning it and, exigent circumstances intervene, but we have a summary judgment motion against one of the most flagrant violators that's almost ready to go.
Oh, good. Any other questions or comments for Maury? Okay. Why don't we move to our Director of Finance, Daryl Tuttle.
Good evening. I just have two topics to report on, and ironically, one of them touches on what Maury mentioned. First one is this week started off our on-site portion of our audit. Insero was on site, and everything so far is going well. The second topic is I was going to update on where we are on the foreclosure. So we we don't have a date yet, but we're looking at an auction in the summer, maybe June, July, somewhere around there. I'll let you guys know more once we finalize those dates. We did start with 50 residential properties that we filed for foreclosure and 75 vacant commercial properties. We are now down to 17 residential and 24 vacant and commercial. My staff's been working very diligently, sending out as much notice as we can to get any type of response and get someone to respond back to us to set up something. As of note, we have about 63 installment agreements, which helps redeem the property in some cases. And also, one thing Maury forgot to mention is he's going to help my department with a policy on our tax installments. So once he gets a chance, we hope to put some guidelines for us to follow as a county and put in front of you guys. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report at this time. If you have any questions.
Randy Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl. When we have installment agreements where people are paying, do we, over a whole year, I guess, are we making the schools and other municipalities whole while we're doing that?
Yes. We make the schools and the towns whole the moment they turn it over to us. And then all that's a requirement currently is that they're delinquent. So at that point, they're delinquent and they could go into an installment agreement with us.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Daryl? Maury, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, one thing, Randy, I could clarify on that. The make whole payment happens typically way before the installment agreement is entered, because the installment agreements, the taxpayers really don't apply to them until they're up against a foreclosure and a redemption date.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any resolutions to be added or withdrawn from the agenda? Travis?
I do have Resolution O, ID 14036, resolution authorizing the Tompkins County Administrator to execute a definitive lease agreement with Ahir and Company LLC for shelter facilities.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Rachel Oslin. And would you like to comment on this, Travis? Okay. Yeah, we just need to add it to the agenda, so we're going to do a roll call vote.
Mike Sigler,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman,
Yes.
Christy Bianconi,
Yes.
Travis Brooks,
Yes.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Deborah Dawson,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
John Hunt,
Yes.
Greg Mezzi,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Iris Packman,
Yes.
Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff,
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes. Okay. That will be added for the Health and Human Services report. And why don't we move forward with the consent agenda, resolution and appointments to be voted on as a group unless any member of the legislature requests that a resolution or appointment be instead included separately and individually as part of the business of standing or special committees. Advisory board appointments. Government Operations Committee, Tompkins County Historical Commission, Rich John Commissioner, term expires December 31st, 2028. Carol Kamen Commissioner, term expires December 31st, 2028. Planning, Energy and Environmental Quality Committee, Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board, Joseph J. Franklin, Director of Assessment, term expires upon resignation of position. Paul Gear, Chair of Soil and Water Conservation District, term expires upon resignation of position. Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee, Resolution A, American Rescue Plan Act. Okay. Resolution B, resolution authorizing funding to cover additional costs associated with discontinuation of split plan health insurance coverage for certain retirees under age 65 and their spouses, ID 14007. Resolution C, allocation of America 250 grant funding, ID 14002. Resolution D, award of 2026 outdoor grants, ID 13979. Resolution E, budget adjustment, Planning and Sustainability Department, Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Award, Healthy Homes, IV ID 13988. Resolution F, negative declaration for authorizing disbursement of Community Housing Development Fund, CHDF, award for Compass Redevelopment Phase 2, ID 13989. Resolution G, authorization to disperse county funds to the Community Housing Development Fund, CHDF, for Round 24 award, ID 13990. Resolution H, 2026 Fair Housing Resolution, ID 13993.
I'd like to remove I.
Okay. Okay, and can I have a mover for the consent agenda? Moved by Judith Hubbard, seconded by Adam Benson.
Yeah, he pulled it. So.
And we'll do a roll call for the consent agenda.
Mike Sigler,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman,
Yes.
Christy Bianconi,
Yes.
Travis Brooks,
Yes.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Barbara Dawson,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
John Hunt,
Yes.
Greg Mezzi,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Iris Packman,
Yes.
Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff,
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes. Okay, that's unanimous. That passes. We're going to go ahead and continue to move along to our standing committees, if that's all right with everyone. Okay. We're going to start with Public Safety Committee. Travis Brooks, Chair.
We haven't met since our last meeting. We do meet this Thursday. The jail numbers are 60, Tuesday?
We don't meet this Thursday, is it?
Next Tuesday.
Sorry.
Thanks. We meet next Tuesday. Thank you, Veronica. We have 65 folks that are in the jail right now and 5 board outs.
Thank you, Travis. Any questions or comments for Travis? Randy Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I guess maybe 2 weeks ago, we took a tour of various other public safety buildings in 3 counties. I think it was Seneca County, Chemung, and Ontario.
Steuben and Ontario.
Steuben, I'm sorry. And it was fascinating, really, to learn what they're doing there, and some of the best practices that they were doing, and also some of the comments they made about they wish they hadn't done things a certain way. So I thought that was really interesting and helpful. So I just wanted to share that.
That's great. Thank you all for going to that. I think there were 3 or 4 legislators. Is that what Derek said, the sheriff? Great. I'm really glad to hear people went, because that's going to be helpful whenever we start moving forward. We might need to do another one as well for those of us that couldn't make it. Okay, next is Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Veronica Pillar, Chair.
Thank you. WDIC has not met since our last meeting, but we will be meeting this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Have some general updates, small discussions on the agenda, but most notably, we're going to be hearing more about the Employee Engagement Committee from Samantha Allmendinger, who's co-running that.
Great. Any questions for Veronica Pillar or comments? Great. Thanks, Veronica. Next, we have Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee. Deborah Dawson, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met last Monday. We passed several resolutions that most of which appear on the consent agenda. And I will, at this point, move Resolution A, which was pulled by Mr. Sigler.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Greg Mezzi.
As I stated in legislator public comment, this is a reallocation of ARPA funds necessitated by the fact that the grantees of a couple of projects that received awards under our community funding committee were not able to be completed by the date that ARPA required, and so we reallocated them to other pre-existing county uses that were eligible under ARPA, with the idea that most of the money would be offset eventually by monies that we would allocate at such time as Centralis was able to go forward with its stabilization project.
Okay, I have Mike Sigler's hand up.
Thank you, Deborah. That's actually kind of why I wanted it pulled. I just wanted to allow people to know that this was more.
Mike, can you speak a little bit louder?
Sure. Let me know if you can hear me now.
A little bit better. Maybe we can raise the volume a little bit.
I'll try to yell as best I can.
Okay.
I wanted to just say thank you to Deborah for reiterating that this is not a lack of commitment to a mental health stabilization unit or a detox center, that this was really kind of a bookkeeping issue. Correct me if I'm wrong from the legislature, that we are still committed to building the mental health stabilization unit and the detox center. We had a lot of issues with the state for the building we want to put that into. That's all being worked out still. But I didn't want people to think that we were kind of backing away from that commitment, that we're still struggling to kind of get that put into place and working with our partner at Cayuga Medical to make that happen. Again, if I've said anything incorrect from the legislature, please, my fellow legislators, correct me on that.
No, that's right, Mike. It's just a timing issue. We're pressed up against the deadline for using the ARPA funds, and if we don't reallocate them, we'll end up having to send them back to Washington.
Okay, thank you very much, Deb.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Mike said as well, this legislature, even from as far back whenever Alcohol and Drug Council was trying to open the detox and medication stabilization center, has been committed to that project. And we all realize the need for that in our community. That's more or less the one missing piece. We actually have many missing pieces, but that's one of the big ones. And we've always wanted to go that route. And so the $1.5 million that Cayuga Med was awarded for the ARPA funds, we are going to allocate those funds to projects we've already done. We've already essentially spent that money, and we're going to make sure in the future that we have the funding for future use. So whenever we're ready to move forward, once the licensure has been secured by Cayuga Med, it's the assumption that we would move forward with making that contribution to that project. So, any questions or comments? Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Mike Sigler?
Yes.
Adam Vinson?
Yes.
Dan Wakeman?
Yes.
Christy Bianconi?
Yes.
Travis Brooks?
Yes.
Randy Brown?
Yes.
Deborah Dawson?
Yes.
Judith Hubbard?
Yes.
John Hunt?
Yes.
Greg Mezzi?
Yes.
Rachel Oslin?
Yes.
Iris Packman?
Yes.
Veronica Pillar?
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff?
Yes.
Shauna Black?
Yes. Okay, that's unanimous. That passes. Anything else, Deborah?
No, thanks, everyone.
Okay, next is Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, Lee Shirtliff.
Thank you. Facilities and Infrastructure met last Thursday, and one of the highlights of the meeting was a briefing by Frank Doldo from the Department of Planning and Sustainability on an update on the Mobility Vision Plan, and in particular an emphasis on Rides to Recovery pilot program that he's working with. And there's a $125,000 grant that will help move this vision forward, but we'll be hearing more from Frank as he seeks the $125,000 to have the matching grants from the county. But it's an exciting program that allows for people in recovery from substance use disorder and concurring mental health disorders to receive transportation and address the barriers that limit their access to public transportation. So more to follow. And just a fun fact, I threw a question out at Frank about the overall scope of transportation programs in Tompkins County. And I think it kind of raised our eyebrows a little bit that the investment within the county budget for transportation programs is some $25 million a year, which would be upwards of 10% of the expenditures that Tompkins County spends in its $250 million plus budget. And just a kudos that goes out to all of those that work on public transportation for us. It's a significant investment, and we're able to leverage almost all of it through state and federal resources, some local share, but minimal amount for the impact that we have. So just one of those things I want to throw out there as we start moving toward the budget process. I have a resolution on the agenda for tonight, Resolution J, lease amendment for solar canopy project, ID number 14027. And Maury mentioned how much he loves his job. If we have some questions on that, he's been very much involved in making this happen with Terry Carroll. I'll move that.
Okay, and Dan Wakeman will second. Would you like to explain this to us, Maury or Lee?
Let me ask Maury to do it because
Okay.
it's been one of those walkthroughs with Cornell University to make sure that we're able to do this in a manner that crosses the T's and dots the I's.
Okay.
Absolutely, and I see Terry is on the Zoom, so he did the yeoman's work on this to get it across the finish line. But the story behind this resolution is that when well, I'm not exactly sure what triggered it, but when we started the process of putting the solar canopy at Brown Road, and we went through a whole Monroe balancing thing with the town of Lansing, and at Cornell's behest, and Cornell also, said took the position that a prior EV charging station installation at 55 Brown Road violated the ground lease, and that they wanted some amendments to the ground lease, principally in the area of insurance. We looked at that, and it seemed particularly onerous and overreaching at the time. However, we were able to reach an accommodation, and a resolution was passed in this legislature in December to allow limited construction of the solar array to proceed within calendar 2025 in order to preserve the tax credits, but that additional construction would need to await the lease amendment, and we were in the process of going over the additional insurance requirements that Cornell was asking for, and some other documentation types of things that they wanted to include in the ground lease. And we were able to reach a point where, in part, the insurance requirements weren't that bad after all. In part, we were able to massage some of the language to assure that the additional insurance requirements would not impose any additional expense on the county other than the cost of the insurance that we already carry, and that some of these would have to be carried by the contractors. So all the pieces have now come together, and I am happy to put them forward to you with a recommendation to adopt the lease amendment so that the canopies can finally be anchored to the ground and installed.
Thank you, Maury. Any questions or comments? Iris Packman and then Judith.
Thanks, and thank you, Terry, for being on. I'm supportive of this. I'm just curious if if we have a sense of the capacity, and also if there's net metering. Are we going to be benefiting if there's excess power generated? How does that work?
Yeah, so this array is, I want to say it's between 140 and 156 kilowatt array, so it's a decent size. It'll be the largest array that the county owns on its own. We are doing this in front of the meter instead of behind the meter, so it won't feed directly to the building. Instead, the power will be sold to the grid and then be put onto our bills as a credit. It's somewhat similar to the arrangement we have with the Waterloo hydroelectric facility, but it's not a power purchase agreement since we own the facility itself. But in solar, there's behind the meter, which is usually connected directly to a building where you get net metering. And then there's front of the meter, which is what this one will be. And so that'll be subject to something called the value of distributed energy resources, or VDER.
Do we anticipate this actually being a cost generating or savings measure?
Yeah, I mean, especially as electricity prices continue to rise, and because almost the entirety of the system will ultimately be covered by grants and by the federal tax credit, this will be a huge benefit to the county. Essentially putting in a 156 kilowatt array with zero cost to the county, and it'll start generating electricity. Hopefully, we believe this August, it'll almost immediately be net positive.
I look forward to the report too on how much we're saving once it's up and running. Thanks.
Me too.
Judith Hubbard.
I just want to share a couple of points that Terry explained in our F&I meeting. I asked him if we were planning to put other kinds of arrays like this up around the county. He said they've been looking at it, but that it is more expensive to put this kind of an array up compared to one on a roof, because you need the structural steel to hold it up, which is not cheap these days. That the federal tax credit system is changing, that there are fewer credits available, so we're kind of squeaking in with this one. But as he says now, the cost of electricity is going up, so there's a bit of a balance there. So I thought that was useful for me.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We're working with Chris to get the sound turned up, because it seems to be people on Zoom, we can't hear you very well. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, we're going to do a roll call. Thank you.
It looks like Mr. Sigler is away at this moment, so Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman,
Yes.
Christy Bianconi,
Yes.
Travis Brooks,
Yes.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Deborah Dawson,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
John Hunt,
Yes.
Greg Mezzi,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Iris Packman,
Yes.
Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff,
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, great. Anything else for you, Lee Shirtliff?
Just want to thank Maury for your diligence and making this happen. And Terry, special thank you for everything you've done to leverage the tax credits and incentives. It's been a challenge, and we know it's a changing environment, and I think the county's well served by the extras you've done to preserve this. So thank you.
Great. Randy Brown?
I just want to add to in the F&I meeting, we heard from the Highway Department about bridges again, and how they're looking at a 10-year capital plan versus the 5-year plan they've been working on in the past, to get an understanding of what our commitment's going to be and costs going to be over the next 10 years. Also, we got a report from the recycling materials management folks, and they have a pilot program that's improving and increasing on food scraps. And they said that roughly 20% of the material going to landfills is food scraps. So they're focused on that number. It's a heavy product. So they're doing some things more in the downtown area and doing pilot programs, and I'm glad they're doing that. We also talked about the other 80% of stuff that is going to landfills, and I would like to see us maybe develop a working group to really look at the other 80% of the products going to landfills and how we're going to address that. Actually, just earlier today, we got an email from a constituent in Rachel's district, and they were asking about how come I can't recycle black plastic and this kind of plastic the same, and he goes, now I'm throwing it away, which they don't want to do. So I asked him a question. I said, would you be willing to pay $15 more a year for your fee that you pay, currently it's $85? And he goes, you mean the cost of 2 pieces of pizza and a Coke? I thought that was pretty funny. And he said, yes, he would. So I think we need to look more closely at what we're throwing away and figuring out how to make the systems work. So,
thank you, Randy. Any other questions or comments for Lee? Rachel?
I was wondering if the Highway Department had any bridge updates with the bridge projects like Podunk, and where that is.
There's several that were reported on at the meeting, and if you want to look at the agenda and then the review from the meeting. They are briefing us on those every month. And yes, Podunk was among those that we heard.
Judith?
I could take a quick look and see what the notes were, but
I can go back
they
and
are
look.
reflective in the minutes.
I believe that the 30-day period where they had to list it for sale has closed and nobody asked to buy it. And so now they can proceed with the usual, I guess, replacement, but they were held up by that required 30-day period.
Thank you, yes.
And I think they're still waiting for approval from SHPO, which they have not received yet, because it's got some historic nature to it. So they're waiting for the state, I think.
Right, and that's a follow-up to there being no bids for anybody to take the bridge and repurpose it in its entirety.
Okay, Government Operations Committee, Randy Brown, Chair.
Yes, we met last Tuesday and had a much shorter meeting. It was much nicer. But we every meeting we're meeting with administration, and they're going to review the strategic operations plan. We're going to go through it one section at a time. We went through the first section more to make ourselves familiar with it, but also to make sure that we're focused on what we all agreed the operations plan was that was approved in 2024. So we'll continue to do that. We developed our goals, and we're looking at systems and finance and our software investments by departments and other issues, but I think that it's going well.
Great, thank you. Judith?
I just wanted to mention that at the next GO meeting, we'll be hearing from the library director, and I've just heard from the library director that they're in discussions about murals to go on the library. So I'm going to be talking to people who are involved, and I'll come back to you guys for discussion. I believe any mural that is approved would have to be approved by this body, but they want to have community involvement as well.
Great. Okay. Next is Health and Human Services Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We met last Wednesday on the 15th. We had two departments share their goals for this year, Veterans Affairs and Youth Services. They both did a really good presentation. Whole Health gave a presentation on their program alignment. We talk about Jenny and her work quite a bit. It continues to impress me how much they understand how to treat people holistically. This whole idea of a one-stop shop, taking care of people. They continue to roll out programs and align what they have to make those efforts really happen. We have 4 items now on 4 resolutions. The first one is number I, authorizing application to the Homeless Housing and Assistance Program, HHAP grant for development of an 80-bed adult shelter and approving related funding and operating agreement, ID 14021.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Christy Bianchi. Oh my God, Bianconi, sorry. God, I'm out of control tonight. Sorry about that. I stopped myself though.
I think Corsa talked about this a little earlier. This is our application for the grant for our shelter. Mike, you pulled it, I believe.
No, I pulled it.
Randy, you pulled it.
Yeah, I pulled it because I just wanted to make sure people understand this is a big deal. And I think this is a really important step for the county as we move forward with our whatever plan we are putting together here. It is costing us the county money that we didn't anticipate early on, but I think if we can get this grant, and if it's going to cost us $3 million, we get a grant for $15 million, I think that's a good deal for us. But I think that we've done a lot of work for the last legislature and now this legislature as well, and I just want to note that this is a big deal.
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Iris Packman?
Yeah, thanks. I just had some questions about this. For the the 3 million and change that's it's estimated to be above and beyond the grant, and the 1.2 million that we already spent on the site, is that 1.2 coming out of the 3, or is the 3 in addition?
No, it's coming out.
Okay, and do we have some kind of an estimate, like, because I realize that we haven't put this out to bid yet, right? So we don't know how much the total project necessarily will come in at, but do we have some kind of estimate about the fact that it would be this 18-ish million?
Yeah, so the number came from the professional estimators, and that's what we're using to apply for the grants. So if we are successful and we go out to bid, just like we discussed with the central government, the actual cost is what the developer would say they will charge us to build it. And then if for any reason it comes below the 15 million, then the county will not need to chip in for the construction of the building. But HHAP does not cover the cost for furniture. We will still be spending additional money to furnish the building.
Okay, I'm just, because I'm thinking about the center of government, which is my only other point of reference, and I believe in that resolution we had sort of an up to number, right, like the total amount. Is there a reason why we don't have that in this one?
So the center of government resolution is a bulk number. So we look at, I believe, $50 million. That is not estimated actual project cost at the time that we pass the resolution. But this is an estimated actual project cost based on the work being done by the consultant that we hired to do this work.
So it's a more accurate.
It is more accurate on this number, yes.
That's great to know. And then what is the time frame for when we would be seeking to add this to the capital budget?
So in terms of the capital budget, it's already added, but we anticipate spending additional county dollars if we are successful around 2029.
Okay.
But if we are successful with the funding, we should hear the news by October. Our plan is to actually start construction in the spring of 2028.
And would we bond for that?
It depends on how
Okay.
we may, because it's a reimbursable grant. So if we are successful, we may have to bond for the project and then submit for reimbursement.
Okay, thank you so much.
As we do with the road project and other things, yes.
Okay, thanks, that's really helpful.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's do a roll call.
Mike Sigler? Adam Vinson?
Yes.
Dan Wakeman?
Sorry.
Dan Wakeman?
Yes.
Christy Bianconi?
Yes.
Travis Brooks?
Yes?
Randy Brown?
Yes.
Deborah Dawson?
Yes.
Judith Hubbard?
Yes.
John Hunt?
Yes.
Greg Mezzi?
Yes.
Rachel Oslin?
Yes.
Iris Packman?
Yes.
Veronica Pillar?
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff?
Yes.
Shauna Black?
Yes. It's unanimous, that passes. Would you like to move forward with your other resolutions, Travis?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have Resolution O, resolution authorizing the Tompkins County Administrator to execute a definitive lease agreement with a Here and Company LLC for shelter facilities. Currently, we're at the roadway. This is an extension of the lease for about 3 years, correct? So that's where most of our THA is happening, and the idea would be to keep it there over the next 3 years. You want to add anything?
Can I have a seconder, please?
Oh, my bad.
Seconded by Rachel Oslin. And Corson?
Yeah, I think you covered all the beats. I think we've beaten it up for a long time, so.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Randy Brown?
Yeah, I was just curious if we, before we started occupying the roadway, if we did an inspection and took pictures and an assessment of the property itself.
I believe that was done in 2024 when we signed the original agreement. And so, yes, I presume so. I was check in with Ariel, but I believe we did take stock of what was there and what was taken away. So we have a good idea the condition of the building at the time we start occupying.
Any other questions or comments? Iris?
For the total compensation not to exceed 1.8 million per year, how is there flexibility? Is that based on occupancy? Is there variation?
It's a fixed amount.
Oh, it is a fixed amount. So it would be essentially, it would be 1.8 million.
1.8.
And the utility costs capped at 60,000, is that per year or is that all over all 3 years combined?
It is per year.
Per year, okay. And is that included in the 1.8?
No, sorry, let me repeat that. It is on a monthly basis for the utility cost.
So monthly utility costs
Yes.
capped at $60,000 per month?
That's correct, right?
I can verify that.
Okay,
as we-
yeah.
I-
So from the discussion that we had, the annual cost for the utilities previous years, is annual.
Okay.
The annual cost for the utilities was around about 100 or so thousand. So we cap it so that we will pay a portion if we exceed the 60,000, and then they will be responsible for the other portion. So they will be responsible for the 60. Anything above 60, county will cover that.
So when it says capped at 60, does that mean that we pay the first 60?
No, we pay the over 60.
We pay what's over 60?
Yes.
Okay, for the whole
For the
building?
annual. Yes, for the whole building, yes.
Okay. And is that's not part of the 1.8 million?
No, not.
Okay. Are there any other costs outside of the 1.8 million?
No, additional cost.
Just the utilities?
Yeah, all the costs that we will bear are in here in the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's do a roll call.
Mike Sigler? Mike Sigler?
Yes. Yes.
Adam Vinson?
Yes.
Dan Wakeman?
Yes.
Christy Bianconi?
Yes.
Travis Brooks?
Yes.
Randy Brown?
Yes.
Deborah Dawson?
Yes.
Judith Hubbard?
Yes.
John Hunt?
Yes.
Greg Mezzi?
Yes, yes.
Rachel Oslin? Rachel?
Yes.
Veronica Pillar?
Yes, but what about Iris?
I'm sorry, Iris Packman?
Okay, yes, yes.
Lee Shirtliff?
Yes.
Shauna Black?
Yes. Okay, Travis, you want to keep going?
Sure. Number K, resolution urging the governor and the state legislature to preserve the county Medicaid cap and provide counties with the financial and administrative resources necessary to implement federal safety net changes under H.R. 1 pending Health and Human Services Committee on April 15th, 2026, ID 13980.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Lee Shirtliff. I'm happy to talk a little bit about this. This was one that we received at NISAC, and Deborah ended up bringing it forward in budget and thought it would make sense to also bring it forward in HHS. You know, essentially, this is one of those nice feel-good resolutions that we love to debate for hours, but I hope we don't do that tonight. I'm hoping this will also be bipartisan, and we can agree that this is something that our governor needs to do to help our local counties pay for health care for all those people that do not have health care. Any questions or comments? Oh, Mike Sigler. Mike, you're muted.
And Fred?
No, I'm not. I shouldn't be. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can, brother.
Okay. Sorry, I'll try not to say this twice either. Listen, I said this in committee, and I generally don't like to weigh in on a bunch of state issues, but in this case, I actually don't think this goes far enough. I mean, we've talked for a decade how the state, this is the #1 mandate they put upon the counties. we're what I think the only state now
Mike, you're
that
getting
actually
choppy.
collects this money from county property tax. The state should completely take this entire expense, Medicaid, off of the counties. They have multiple ways to raise money. The county only has sales tax and property tax to raise this kind of money. And we have no control over it at all. So I'm thankful for this bill, but it again just doesn't go far enough. The state should be taking over this entire expense.
We're all shaking our heads here. We all agree with Mike Sigler. It's a cold day in hell, Mike.
Hey.
Okay, are we ready for a roll call? Okay.
Mike Sigler.
Yes.
Adam Vinson.
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
Christy Bianconi.
Yes.
Travis Brooks.
Yes.
Randy Brown.
Yes.
Deborah Dawson.
Yes.
Judith Hubbard.
Yes.
John Hunt.
Yes.
Greg Mezzi.
Yes.
Rachel Oslin.
Yes.
Iris Packman.
Yes.
Veronica Pillar.
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff.
Burr, yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes.
15 ayes.
Okay, we all agreed tonight. Huge success. Okay, last one, Trev.
Last one, number L, creation of Human Rights Program Manager position pending Health and Human Service Committee action on April 15th, 2026, IDE 13986.
Okay, can I have a seconder? Veronica Pillar?
All right, this allows us to create a new position for the Office of Human Rights. It is not going to take the director off the books. That's a whole nother process. We're looking at a year to see how this goes, and then we will make recommendations, well, not we, but county administration will make recommendations from there. The position will be supervised by county administration. I don't know if there's any other questions. Or, of course, if you want to weigh in and add anything.
No, nothing more to add.
Trying to make your job easier tonight.
Mike Sigler? Can't tell if he's frozen.
Hold hand.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll just say that I'm glad that we finally figured out a path forward for this department. They have been on hiatus for over a year now, and it's very clear that we need this department now more than ever. And I'm just glad that this is a step forward, and it's might not be the final step, but at least we're able to hire someone who can start the efforts again. So I'm really happy to see that. Iris?
Just quickly, if you could just explain very briefly, like what this role would entail. Was that okay?
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of details here, but so basically the program manager will oversee the various programs that the Office of Human Rights will do, including community engagement, education, helping with conflict resolution if possible, and also assisting client file complaint at the state level. What I have seen over the last year and few months is there was some degree of gap between how the office and the commission works together. So we are hoping that this position will bring the commission back into the fold of the office for them to work better together. And also, Leon, I would say, has been great, willing to step up and work with the office and support them. And I think I'm very excited about what we can do collectively as we move forward.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Mike Sigler.
Yes.
Adam Vinson.
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
Christy Bianconi.
Yes.
Travis Brooks.
Yes.
Randy Brown.
Yes.
Deborah Dawson.
Yes.
Judith Hubbard.
Yes.
John Hunt.
Yes.
Greg Mezzi.
Yes.
Rachel Oslin.
Yes.
Iris Packman.
Yes.
Veronica Pillar.
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff.
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes. That's unanimous. That passes. Any questions for, I think Travis might have gone to the restroom. Christy is the vice chair. Any questions on HHS? Okay, thank you all. We're going to move to Housing and Economic Development Committee. Greg Mezzi, Chair.
Excuse me, thank you. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. We gave a report last meeting about our April meeting, and I do have 2 resolutions on the agenda. The first is Resolution M, Award of the Spring 2026 Tourism Advancement Grants, ID number 13977, and I would move.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Adam Vinson.
These are a part of the annual grant program through the Strategic Tourism Planning Board. These are given to organizations to help market and advance tourism into Tompkins County. So many of these are evaluated with the association of room nights that are brought into the market through these various activities.
Great. And Mike Sigler.
I need to abstain from this because I think it might be a conflict with my full-time job.
Okay, so just
as I do have from the other tourism grants.
Okay,
so
and
I'll just
so
say abstain when it comes, if that's okay.
Okay, so we'll have you recuse if that's all right, instead of abstain.
This is perfect.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Mike, you could take a break then. You can shut down and come back to the meeting after.
Or just turn off your camera.
There we go.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Do we need a roll call? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. However, Travis is not here for that vote. Travis is away. Okay. Okay. Next resolution.
The next is Resolution N, the award of the Spring 26 Community Celebrations Grant, ID number 13978, and I would so move.
Okay, seconded by Christie.
This is a commitment of the Strategic Tourism Planning Board to enhance the quality of life for residents in Tompkins County while supporting other things to do throughout our community that many visitors may or may not experience while they're here. But it just, again, it's meant to enrich, what's going on, what's happening in our community, a way for communities to celebrate their uniqueness and individuality across the county, or a specific program or topic event that's important to a specific smaller community within Tompkins County.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Deborah Dawson, then Iris.
Is Mr. Sigler recused from this one as well?
Yeah, he has to be recused from both.
Okay.
Iris?
I just have to recuse myself from this one. I sit on the board of one of the organizations.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just for the record, all of these recusals are consistent with what took place in Housing and Economic Development.
Okay, great. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that is unanimous from everyone that was able to vote.
Our next meeting will be May the 6th at 10 a.m. here in Chambers, and nothing else to report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Greg? Okay, next we are going to move on to Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee, and Adam Vinson is Vice Chair.
I have nothing to report since our last meeting. We have not met as a committee. Our next meeting will be on May 7th, Thursday. We have a lot of presentations right now on the agenda. We're likely going to have to cut down, but one of, I think, special interest to some legislators is we're going to be hearing from the DEC on the dredging project.
Okay, very good. Mike Sigler, you might want to attend that one. You've been asking about dredging for the past 8 years that I've been on the legislature.
I know, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what they say.
Good times. Okay, any questions or comments for Adam? Okay, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Any individual member filed resolutions? See no one's hand. We have minutes of our previous meeting, April 7th and April 14th. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Aris, seconded by Travis. And any comments or corrections for those? And we're going to do a roll call.
Mike Sigler,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman,
Yes.
Christy Bianconi,
Yes.
Travis Brooks,
Yes.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Deborah Dawson,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
John Hunt, Greg Mezzi,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Iris Packman,
Yes.
Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff,
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes. Okay, that's unanimous, that passes. Next, we do have some unfinished business, and if I could have a motion to take off the table. Resolution, let's see here, number 2026-71, moved by Deborah, seconded by Dan Wakeman. And if we could go ahead and do a roll call for that, please.
Mike Sigler,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman,
Yes.
Christy Bianconi,
Yes.
Travis Brooks,
Yes.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Deborah Dawson,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
John Hunt,
Yes.
Greg Mezzi,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Iris Packman,
Yes.
Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff,
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes. Okay, that's unanimous, that's off the table. Need someone to move it back on, or we're good? Okay. Okay, so I would ask Michael Stitley to join us, and it is currently on the table. And Michael, would you like to give us some information on this, the Department of Emergency Response, the Emergency Management Plan? The one thing that I have been reminded for all of you, though, is that we really can't go into specifics without going into executive session, because there is some information that would jeopardize the security of our operations. So if we go too deep, I'm going to have to stop us, and we'll have to go into executive session. So I just wanted to remind everyone of that.
Thank you. So last Public Safety Committee meeting, we submitted our comprehensive emergency management plan, which is really our guiding document, if you will, in the event of a disaster or significant emergency in the county. Jessica Verfus did an amazing job putting this together with the vendor Tetra Tech, and we're excited to have a finished product. What I'd like to point out, I guess I'm a little too loud, is this is really one phase of a two-phase process. What we decided this time is, when we were doing the plan, is we wanted to create a plan that all the townships could benefit from. So rather than each town having their own basic emergency management plan, they can leverage our plan for that purpose. And in addition to that, we're working with Tetra Tech, and Jessica is leading the planning model for each town to have a specific appendix to this plan that they can use for an emergency in their community. So what was exciting is when we talked to Tetra Tech, we had this vision. And as some of you know, Tetra Tech is, a leader when it comes to emergency management planning. They haven't done anything quite like this before, so I think we're going to, we're really establishing what I consider to be a new best practice here, especially for communities that don't have local emergency managers. So I'm excited that we're going to be able to extend this olive branch to our communities, and they're going to be able to, again, utilize our basic plan, but yet have a unique chapter within the plan that would be very specific to their home community.
Great. Any questions for Mike Stitley? Judith, and then Veronica.
Thanks, Mike. This seems like a really good first step. I'm hoping we'll eventually have some kind of sort of step-by-step response plan to specific hazards. I'm looking through this, and I see there's various hazards listed. Some of them require very different responses than others, right? So like flooding would be, an emergency that might require evacuation and emergency response. Harmful algal blooms, I don't really know how, it would have a very different response. I'm wondering, in an example, how do harmful algal blooms, which are specifically called out here, fit into an emergency management plan? What is the county's role or the municipality's role in a harmful algal bloom?
Well, it's really about trying to identify all the risks and potential risks that could exist in a community. And a comprehensive emergency management plan is a little bit different than what you might be used to in a basic emergency operation plan. So it's really designed to identify all the risks, all the hazards in the community, and then have an all hazards approach. So although some might seem a little bit more benign or not necessarily have, something that we would immediately seem that we'd have to respond to, that could lead to, a potential environmental emergency. So identifying in our plan is pretty critical. As part of another phase of our plan, we're going to also we're going to have special annexes for, hazard-specific emergencies that could occur, specifically in Tompkins County.
Veronica?
Two things, I guess three things. The first being this is congrats on doing this. This is great, and I didn't realize it was so novel. The plan does, I haven't read every word, but it seems like it is, I guess, appropriately focused on the Tompkins County government organization. What should the people and entities within our government be doing in an emergency? And how does this, maybe this is sort of related to Judith's question, and then this plan does not, it's not like a handbook that you could be like, oh, this disaster is going on, let me look at this and follow instructions. But how does it mesh with plans that might be in place for other entities? I imagine in an acute disaster, the county government has a lot of responsibility, and there's going to be tons of networking and integration with other, both municipalities, but I imagine who knows what.
Yeah, so when we do our hazard-specific annex, those are more like a checklist of which agencies would be involved, and we have companion documents that will be added to this. Again, this is just the basic plan, but it's the framework for the entire plan. So let's take, like a wind event where we maybe have a situation where we have, mass power outages, right? So we'll have an annex in a plan that will specifically speak to that, and then those agencies or entities that we would communicate with, like say NISEC as a non-government agency, or maybe local fire departments, et cetera.
That makes sense. Thank you. And then my second thing is this plan in general came up at the core advocacy group meeting yesterday, which is the core advocacy group. I'm trying to pull up the mission statement, but I can't. Is originally a FEMA created entity. Now it's kind of split off of. It's supposed to be an advisory group to departments of emergency response, so yours in this case, specifically for the purpose of including people with disabilities in disaster planning and making sure that disaster plans are going to work for people with all sorts of disabilities. And I know they were very interested in participating in as much as appropriate or possible in future, I guess maybe creating annexes, but also I see that there's a sort of recurring annual review process in the plan.
Yes.
And I'd love to talk more about that.
Yes, and so we're going to have an annex that will be specific for community members with medical and functional needs, and that's where the CAG will come in. So Jeff Dunn, who's our community preparedness coordinator, does attend some of those meetings. So once the plan is approved and it's we're permitted to distribute it to certain community partners, that will be a partner that will distribute it to, and then we'll work on it. So take sheltering for example. So when you establish a shelter, you also may need to establish a shelter for individuals with medical or functional needs, and that would be a good example of where we can leverage the skill set from CAG in order to develop that annex.
Yeah, you also need to account for people for whom leaving their homes is
that's right,
potentially impossible.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rachel?
Mike, I was wondering if you could also, this sort of would help answer Veronica's question, but explain how the community organizations active in disaster, the COAD group, that's also being formed that connects all the different, government and nonprofit and community agencies that would be activated.
Yeah, so you're referring to our COAD, and we're really excited about that as a project that Jeff Dunn has been working on for the past year. And as Rachel mentioned, it's about community organizations assisting in disasters. You know, sometimes when you have a disaster or a significant emergency, there's a lot of individuals that want to help, and it's very difficult to sort of harness that energy. So a COAD is really designed to really bring all that together, but also organizations will often extend an olive branch to want to help during a disaster. Sometimes with personnel, perhaps, you know, staffing a point of distribution center, maybe for, you know, water, for example, or food. So it's really just a way of really refining that process and really to help prevent freelancing, where we have all these different groups that are doing their own thing and bringing them all together under a structured process.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, and just to confirm too, this is adoption, so this actually means that we implement this plan.
That's right.
We have different methods that we accept plans, but this is actually the adoption, so we will be implementing things that are noted in this plan. Just wanted to make note of that. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote, please.
Mike Stigler,
Yes.
Adam Vinson,
Yes.
Dan Wakeman,
Yes.
Christy Bianconi,
Yes.
Travis Brooks,
Yes.
Randy Brown,
Yes.
Deborah Dawson,
Yes.
Judith Hubbard,
Yes.
John Hunt,
Yes.
Greg Mezzi,
Yes.
Rachel Oslin,
Yes.
Iris Packman,
Yes.
Veronica Pillar,
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff,
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes. Okay, that's unanimous. That passes. Thank you, Michael Steitley and
Great,
your
thank you,
staff.
everybody. Have a good night.
You too. And I would like to adjourn the meeting if there are no further objections. Okay, have a good night, everyone.